In November, Massachusetts voters will be voting on whether or not certain terminally ill people will be allowed to self-administer drugs to end their own lives, and in doing so become the third state to make this practice legal. At a hearing recently on Beacon Hill, the issue of physician-assisted suicide was hotly debated. Steve Kiltonick was there and talked with opponents of the proposed ballot initiative.
In the 1990s, Dr. Jack Kevorkian brought the issue of euthanasia for the terminally ill to the public forefront. With a self-made machine, Dr. Death helped 130 people end their own lives. But this concept brought chills to many Americans. However, in 1997, Oregon became the first state in the nation to legally allow physician-assisted suicide, which is quite different from Kevorkian's death machine. Washington filed suit in 2008. Now the battleground for this divisive issue is here in the Commonwealth. On March 8th, a hearing was held on Beacon Hill for a ballot initiative that would allow certain terminally ill people to self-administer drugs to take their own lives. At the hearing, opponents on both sides of the issue testified before members of the Joint Committee on the Judiciary and a packed House. In 1998, John Rogers served on a legislative committee which defeated a similar proposal.
We define ourselves not by allowing our citizens to die with dignity, but by empowering our citizens to live with dignity while they're dying. And in that distinction, we defined ourselves as a great humane society.
Under the state constitution, legislators have until May 2nd to pass the proposed ballot question as a bill. Should they fail to act or the bill doesn't pass, supporters would need to collect another 11,000 signatures to place the question on the November ballot. Jim Driscoll is the executive director of the Massachusetts Catholic Conference.
We teach that human life from conception to natural death is God's gift to us, and that it's precious and should be protected and cared for at the end of life.
Dr. Barbara Rocket also testified against the bill.
I was trained to take care of patients, give compassionate care, treat their pain if it's necessary, treat their depression. I was not trained to actually kill patients, and this is what physician-assisted suicide would ask me to do.
If it becomes law, an adult resident of Massachusetts would have to be judged mentally competent. He or she would then be allowed to request a prescription for pills to end their own life. Each person would need to be diagnosed with a terminal illness and given 6 months to live by a primary and then consulting doctor. 3 requests would have to be made for the medication, 2 oral and 1 written. The person could change their mind any time during the process. Yvonne Boudreau handles ethical and moral issues for the Sisters of Providence healthcare system. Boudreau said some people are seduced by the wording in the ballot, which disguises the act being committed.
I think it can be very misleading because do we not all want to die with dignity, with compassion? I mean, don't we all want to have a good death? I think it really is suicide. I mean, somebody is leaving a lethal dose and no one can administer it to me except me. I don't know, what does that say about health care and about how we care for people?
In 1997, Don Phillip fought against a proposed physician-assisted suicide bill in Oregon. That measure ultimately passed by a slim margin. He fears, however, that the same can happen here in Massachusetts, unless voters are better informed and take a moral stand. Phillip, who was ordained a deacon in Portland, Oregon, was working for Physicians for Compassionate Care when the bill was introduced.
Catholics in general took the position, I'm personally opposed. But who am I to deny somebody else that freedom? Who am I to say that somebody else who wants to do this can't commit suicide with the help of their doctor? The answer is sometimes we have to take a moral stand. This is not right.
He said even diagnosing someone as being terminal in 6 months is dangerous and unethical.
The whole sense that we can step back as healthcare providers and play God with those decisions and recommendations, again goes against the spirit of the Hippocratic Oath.
It takes a village to raise a child, and you know, I think the village needs to gather around the end of life as well as the beginning of life, gather around the person who is dying, and to walk them from this life into the next life with as much dignity and pride and celebration of their life.
Stay tuned. While it's in limbo now, the next few months will determine whether physician-assisted suicide lives or dies in the Commonwealth. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonick.